Here are some parents talking about their experience of living with the condition and their child being treated with the Ponseti method.
When I first found out that Thomas and William had club feet, I was scared, as any parent would be, worried about what this could mean to their long-term future. But within a few days of doing a little bit of research, talking to a few people, the consultant that discovered it through the scan, we felt a lot more reassured there would be a positive outcome.
It was a big shock. I think I just wanted to have a baby that would be normal and active, and I did fear that he would be permanently disabled.
Yeah, we found out at the 20-week scan when we went to the doctors, and that Murad was affected with clubfoot. It was quite worrying initially, and obviously it took us about a week to sink in, and started looking for treatments that needed to be carried out for this to get corrected.
I first found out about the Ponseti method on the internet. Initially, my consultant didn't even know about the Ponseti method of treatment. He just said that Lewis would probably need surgery. I didn't want to take this as the only option, so I took it on myself to go online, go onto the STEPS website, talk with other parents, and through research on the internet, that's when I found out about Ponseti.
Before Anthony was born, we were fearful for how we would react to seeing him with club feet. But immediately after he was born, we were just delighted with our lovely new baby.
The hardest part was probably following the application of a new plaster, because it can make them a little bit grouchy for about the 24 hours afterwards. Maybe the sleep's a little bit more disturbed, almost like they're a bit colicky, but that soon settles down, and by the time by a couple of days in, they've forgotten all about the new plaster and they're fine.
I think it's really important to not to wish your time away and always be looking ahead to the next stage of treatment. You really need to enjoy your baby, and they'll be having the treatment, but they're still a baby, and they're still it's not going to be the end of the world. It's really quite positive, and I think the joy of having a baby should really overcome a minor difficulty about having the club feet.
I want to reassure parents that their child would not miss out on any course of development during the upbringing and during the course of this treatment. As we have seen with our child, they walk at the same time as others, they would start crawling at the same time as others. So it's like any other normal child. This is just a treatment which is being carried out at the same time as their normal development.
Well, even though my brother had club feet, I still thought of him as a normal child, and most of my family did as well. I still played with him, we had fun together, and it didn't really get in the way of anything, so that was good.
Living with the condition hasn't been particularly hard. There's just been a number of minor nuisances, such as the practicalities of high chairs and having baths while the plaster casts were on.
The hardest part of the condition for me would be when people would stare at Lewis, especially when he was in his plaster cast, because they would look accusingly at me as if I'd thrown him down the stairs or something. In Boots and Bar the situation's a little bit better because they can obviously see that he's being treated, but initially that was probably the hardest part, being very protective over him as well.
The tenotomy wasn't a big problem really. We treated it pretty much like a normal casting. They'd been having casts every week. The main problem really was that they had to be starved for a few hours. They weren't allowed to have any feeds between 9 o'clock in the morning and then 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were getting pretty hungry. But we survived. A lot of finger sucking, a lot of walking around and cuddles, and they weren't too bad. And the actual tenotomy was really quick. They were back with me and screaming within 20 minutes.
My one piece of advice would be to make sure that the treatment is followed exactly as described by Dr. Ponseti.
The hardest part of treatment would be when Lewis first went into his Boots and Bar from cast. In the cast, although he wasn't able to bend his knees, in Boots and Bar he can, but it was really hard. He cried a lot, and I did a lot of crying as well, so we cried together, but the important thing is to persevere. Don't give up. It only lasts 2 or 3 days, and work through it, and he's absolutely fine now, so just make sure you persevere.
What seemed at the beginning, for me, absolutely an insurmountable issue to deal with both practically and emotionally, you do just get accustomed to it with time, definitely. And when I first came to this hospital, I was a very confident looking woman walking around with a baby, and I thought, God, look at her, and I was just a gibbering wreck. And within 3 or 4 weeks, I was that confident person, I hope anyway, feeling quite okay about it, knowing what to expect. So if you just give it time, it does get to a situation where you can just deal with it quite happily. Yeah.
Was living with a baby with their legs fully plastered as bad as you thought?
No. Once you get used to it, changing nappies is a bit fiddly to start with, and you have to adapt your clothing and your bedding, and get the clump on the leg with the plaster cast and things. But no, it's no problem at all. The babies adapt to it better than we do. So.
I hope you found that interesting. If you're able, you will find it incredibly supportive to speak with other parents who are going through this experience. Here are some children who were born with club foot and being treated using the Ponseti method. I hope that by hearing their stories you will be assured that the method does work and that any worries you have about the treatment are laid to rest. Here we have Samuel, who's just 3 weeks old and started the Ponseti treatment 2 weeks ago. Samuel is coping well, and his parents are looking forward to the day in a few weeks' time when they will be able to cuddle their baby without the casts. Next we have Lewis, who is 3 months old. Lewis is currently wearing the brace for 23 hours a day. He has 2 months to go before the number of hours he spends wearing it is reduced. As you can see, he's perfectly happy wearing the brace and does not appear uncomfortable or in any distress at all. Anthony is 13 months and started the treatment when he was just 2 days old. He now wears the brace at night times only for approximately 14 hours. He can crawl and is just beginning to learn to walk on his own. Anthony's feet presented quite a challenge for his doctors. During the early stages of his treatment, it became evident that his feet were very stiff, short and puffy. Dr. Ponseti calls this atypical club foot. As you can see, despite this, the Ponseti method has still worked and his feet look and function normally. Anthony can now walk quite happily and is in no discomfort at all. This is Raul, who is being treated in Spain. He was 2.5 years old when his treatment began. And this is Georgie, who is 8 and started the Ponseti method when she was 6.5. If you're trying to come to terms with your child having club feet, then I do hope this film has reassured you that they can be successfully treated using the Ponseti method. If you decide this is the treatment you want for your child, make sure you find a practitioner who is trained in this method. Speak to them and ask them all the questions you want or need answered to put your mind at rest. Also, try and speak to other parents who have gone through or who are going through the same experience. It can be a great source of support. At the end of the film, there is a list of support organisations and websites you can visit to gain more information. I, for one, am delighted that children no longer have to go through major surgery and suffer the pain and discomfort that I did. Instead, your children can look forward to a life with normal, pain-free and completely functional feet. How lucky they are. Goodbye and good luck.